as a real estate investor, what do you think is likely to happen here?
There's a lot of factors that are going into this deal, like we talked about. There's one more factor that I want to point out that is an unknown right now, and it's what happens while the renovations are going on. So let's kind of bring light to that, and then we'll kind of like put a bow on how I kind of see it happening here. So one big unknown right now is where the Jags going to play while these renovations are going on. And the Jags have proposed two solutions. There is a 2-year solution to do the renovations, which would be less expensive for everybody involved, but it would require the Jags to go and move for 2 years, to play outside of Jacksonville for 2 years. So there have been largely 3 places that they're considering the Jags playing their home games. It would be Daytona International Speedway in Daytona, the Swamp, Go Gators in Gainesville, or Camping World Stadium in Orlando. There are some other solutions, but that would require, you know, bigger venues, and it doesn't seem very likely.
We yell Go Gators when we say the Swamp. When we say Daytona International Speedway, do I have to yell?
There you go. I don't know. I don't know what to yell as a NASCAR fan.
I mean,
so yeah, so that would be one proposal. Jags place elsewhere for 2 years. We don't have that economic impact here. It would save $190 million if that happens. There's another proposal, a 4-year deal where the Jags actually stay in Jacksonville and play at the stadium. It would cost an extra $190 million for that deal to happen. But of course, we'd have the Jags playing home games here, and there's all that economic impact as well. So don't know how that's actually going to play out. Clearly, there's a penchant for everybody involved wanting the Jags to be here, but $190 million. This is, with most stadium deals out there, when you poll the public, most of the public does not support a stadium deal. If you go to every other stadium deal around, it's hard for taxpayers to get around the idea that they are spending 600 to maybe more, 600 million or more, and basically giving that to an entity which is already owned by a billionaire. And that's just
not human nature.
Human nature. I mean,
you're gonna give that dude a tax break? You know?
Yeah, people look at the incentive package that JWB has received, and there's negative sentiment about that as well. There's a lot more positive sentiment about it, but there's certainly those naysayers out there who say, why would we give a real estate development firm $9 million of an incentive package, all of that? So that's just the way it is. That's just the lay of the landscape. So to save $190 million for the city is a big deal. Right? Who knows if the city could get enough support that city council would vote for not just a $600 million deal, but a $800 million deal or $1 billion deal. So there's a lot that's being at play here. But if you ask me, is this thing going to happen? Yeah. Like, hell yeah. Like, this is going to work. Yeah. Right.
Like you said, too many people, too pot committed for this to not work.
I mean, there is an opportunity for everybody to look like rock stars here.
Yeah.
For Shad and the Jags to look like rock stars, for Mayor Deegan to look like a rock star here, for city council to look like a rock star. You know, there haven't been many other times when you've had such an alignment of goals. And you know, if you go back to the show that I think we did either last week or the week before, where I started to talk about the amount of dollars that have grown as far as construction projects downtown, I want to highlight that again. We went from 5 years ago, we had about $700 million of downtown construction happening. In 2022, we had over $4 billion. And what that should represent to you is belief, the ability to put your money where your mouth is, and multiple people who are downtown who are in this, right? You don't get $4 billion of development without multiple projects. People putting their money where their mouth is. So all of those people are absolutely set up to win. JWB is set up to win when all of this happens. I see this working out. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I see everybody coming together. And even though I know it will face negative sentiment from taxpayers out there, simply because it's an incentive given to a billionaire, there is so much positive here. And if we can get over that just perception and just understand the financial impact and what good this can do for our community, I think this is going to go through.
I'm going to put a slightly different spin on it, GC, because I'm not a real estate expert, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Nice.
No, you know me, man. I've studied influence my whole life. There is something about influence that is the influence of a gift. in the 7 Layers of Influence in the book by Robert Cialdini, that's like the seminal work for all this stuff. It talks about how, and in the laws of power and all these, and the art of war, it talks about the power of a gift, right? And how when the human being gives a gift to somebody else, they earn all of this like goodwill and influence and all this stuff that is really, really powerful. And I can tell you that the smartest people in the world all know this. Right. And you don't always one-to-one equate smart with riches, but I'm going to assume Shad is a freaking smart guy.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm assuming that Mayor Deegan is a really smart lady. Right. And the opportunity for whatever is going to happen here, right? Whatever happens to like bring us to the agreement, whether it is the city saying, you know what, Shad? Yeah, man, we're going to pick that up for you. Or Shad saying, you know what, city? You know what, Jacksonville? I'm gonna put a little bit of extra cashish on this thing. Whoever does that is going to garner a giant bargaining chip, a giant advantage of goodwill, a giant little slice of power and influence that really, really matters at the levels that all these people play. And I guarantee you that both of those parties know that.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, there's an opportunity here for somebody to come and look like a hero. I can tell you that based on like brain science, there's an opportunity here for somebody to win a really, really big future, I don't know if you want to call it a backroom deal or a front room deal or whatever it's going to be, but somebody has the opportunity to set themselves up to be a real player in a future thing based on whatever concession they make in a deal that's going to end up being wildly, wildly popular because it happened. And to be able to say that by be like, oh yeah, no, I was the one that like gave the gift. I was the one that backed off from the thing that I said is going to be a real big power move that I'm sure these people are aware of.
I think you're right. I think there's certainly that component to it. I also think that this is so early on.
Yeah.
That's why this is breaking. That's why we changed the lineup of the shows to talk about this so early on. This is going to be a really fun discussion point over the next, call it 6 months, 9 months. There are a whole lot of things that can be done to create value on both sides, which increase the return of investment on both, or maybe even decrease the incentives required, or who knows? There's a whole lot of development that Shad has already done downtown. He may be willing to do more and lump that into this deal, right? Or the city might be willing to do more to support one of Shad's current investments.
Plenty of upside to go around. Plenty of upside.
Right. There's so much there. That's really why I'm confident. Even if you got to the end of the road and the vote was tomorrow and one person had to give a little bit, I agree with you. I think that there's too much to gain to not do that. But I really believe that there's so many positive forces in between now and when we would get to that point. We got a lot of smart people in our city. We got a lot of smart people in the Jags. We got a lot of smart entrepreneurs and early pioneers who are downtown leading this development. Like we can all figure this out and make everybody a hero.
Agreed. So that's the mechanics of the deal. This is the idea that it's not done, but we believe it very likely to be completed.